Okay, so in the previous two videos, we were discussing the parabolas that were only y equals x squared or y equals negative x squared. Notice with these two, we are now dealing with parabolas that actually have a value greater than 1 in front of the x. So we're dealing with parabolas, for example, that have the half in front. I'll just change to a nicer colour. For example, have a quarter or a half. And this one has 1, then it has a bigger number, 4. Okay, on the other side with the negative x squared, again, we're dealing with what happens when the value in front changes. Now, look at your graph. Okay, take a few seconds, have a look and see what you notice. What do you see happens as the value changes in each of them? Okay, what I notice is that as the value gets bigger, okay, notice here that's a 4. Okay, that's a 2, that's a 1, half, a quarter, a ninth. Okay, so my value, in this case, sorry, I said bigger, but in actual fact, as I go downwards, my value in front of the x is getting smaller. What do you notice about the width of the parabola? Okay, the width is getting wider. The smaller the value in front of the x, the wider the graph. Okay, so as it says here, as the size of a, we refer to, okay, any value in front of x, we refer to as a. All right, so as the size of a in the rule above increases, the graph of the parabola becomes narrower. And as the size of a decreases, the graph of the parabola widens. Okay, so it's a bit like the opposite. So you can see here, if I just go back to the negative one, okay, that's negative 4. All right, that's classed as a small number. Sorry, we're not thinking about it as negatives, but that's a bigger number, bigger number, bigger number. I'm not actually looking at the negative, I'm looking at the actual number in front of the x. Okay, the negative only tells you that it's concave down. Okay, so I'm just going to rehash this a little bit. I'm going to go over this point that I was just discussing. So when referring to the width of the parabola, in other words, is it narrow or is it wide, we are only referring to the value in front of the x. Okay, if that value gets bigger, the parabola gets narrower, gets thinner. As the value gets smaller, the parabola gets wider. Okay, the actual negative that is on this, so this negative that I'm highlighting now, that negative simply tells me the graph goes upside down. So as soon as you see a negative, you know it's an upside down graph. As soon as you see a large number, you know it is a upside. If you have a negative large number, you know it's an upside thin graph. If you see a negative small number, you know it's an upside down wider graph. Okay, and the thing about this unit, it is all based around sketches. Okay, it very rarely has to be like accurate as in plotting points.